And welcome back. Now, after his testimony in London last week, media tycoon Rupert Murdoch may be in a fight to save his business empire. And a British parliamentary committee that heard the matter released a highly critical report of Murdoch as well as his company. And I want to bring Andrew back to catch us up to speed.
Well, they're not happy with him, but you probably like details. And a watchdog group, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, or CREW, is now calling on the United States' FCC to revoke News Corp's Fox broadcast licenses here in the U.S.
About people and
He is, quote, not a fit person to run an international company. He is media titan Rupert Murdoch, those scathing words from a British parliamentary committee.
Everybody in the world knows who is responsible for the wrongdoing of News Corp. Rupert Murdoch. More than any individual alive, he is to blame. Morally, the deeds are his.
The blistering committee report slams Murdoch, accuses his son James of, quote, willful neglect in not knowing about the corrupt media practices of their British tabloid News of the World, and it accuses senior executives of lying under oath.
We found News Corporation carried out an extensive cover-up of its rampant law-breaking.
Just last week, Murdoch appeared before a British inquiry into the conduct of his papers.
I also have to say that I failed.
That may not be enough, because suddenly what was a public relations problem for the head of a global media empire that includes Fox News and the Wall Street Journal is now a question of integrity.
It's a sad thing, but he's finished, he's over. I think now of Mr. Murdoch in the past tense.
Murdoch's company, News Corporation, is under investigation by the FBI for violating U.S. law. What was a scandal just in Britain now threatens to undermine his leadership of a $60 billion empire. If you're wondering, U.S. regulations by the FCC stipulate that broadcast frequencies can only be given to firms run by people of good character who serve the public interest and speak with candor. Remains to be seen if that is going to pose an issue now for Rupert Murdoch. Rich?
Thank you, Andrew. And joining us now to talk about what the implications of the fallout with the Murdoch scandal might be, both in the U.S. and abroad, Eric Boehlert, Senior Fellow at Media Matters for America. Eric, welcome back. And let's start across the pond here. Unfit to lead, says Parliament. What does that mean, I guess, for B-Sky B, and then also for his various media holdings when it comes to the UK and Europe in a broader sense?
Well, that was a pretty damning finding. I mean, everybody knew this Parliament report was going to be critical of Murdoch. Everybody knew from the testimony that he hadn't been very forthcoming. His son hadn't been forthcoming. His lieutenants. You got to remember, News Corp executives have been testifying before Parliament since 2007. I mean, this has been a long, ongoing story. All of that stuff that they told Parliament for years turned out to be not true. So everyone knew this was going to be a damning report. Unfit to lead was kind of shocking and kind of surprising. And the implications are in the UK media, if you are found by a separate regulatory organization, if you are found to be unfit to lead, you can't own media properties. You can't own B-Sky B. You can't be really in the newspaper business.
Now, let's pivot that to the board. Obviously, he handpicked a lot of his board members. But is there going to be a push here to push him?
The only silver lining in all this for Murdoch is the extraordinary control he has over the voting stock at News Corp, and his family has over News Corp. If it had been a traditional setup, he would have been gone long ago. His son would have been long ago. There's no board, there's no shareholders that would have put up with this. Murdoch really has, just by the sheer volume of stock and the voting stock he has, really has an ironclad grip on that company. This is his baby. He set it up to always be his baby, and he's really not going to go anywhere until he decides he's going to.
Now let's talk about exposure here in the States. It was just reported here that there's going to be some watchdog groups pushing the FCC to actually pull Murdoch's Fox license. Also, we talked the last time, you and I, about possible criminal exposure given when you get into some of the corporate holdings and where their license is here in the States here. Talk both criminality and then also, arguably even more important, the possibility that Fox could actually lose a license here in the States.
That's not going to happen because any attempt by the government to do that would sort of be World War III or IV, or take your pick, in terms of a right-wing media response. They would detonate. It would be, the reaction would be beyond anything we've ever seen. And really, the FCC doesn't really have much say over cable and all that sorts of things. And even on the broadcast side, the traditional network side, yes, there have been laws on the books that say you have to be a good public citizen, you have to be, fair, you have to be, responsible. But the FCC hasn't paid any attention to those laws in decades. The Justice Department will look into News Corp if he finds it's breaking laws. There's a law in the books that says your employees all around the world, if you're a global company, you cannot be paying off local officials to gain a market share advantage. Again, we had Murdoch's employees paying off British officials in order to get scoops for their tabloids to get a market share advantage. Just very simply looking, it seems to be a very good case the Justice Department could pursue. So again, this could be another hit on Murdoch's pocket for the sort of culture of corruption that he has cultivated for years.
Eric Boehlert, Media Matters. Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it.
Sure thing.